So here is a $5 note. It's got Abraham Lincoln looking sideways. It says Federal Reserve Note at the top, and at the bottom it says $5. This is the new style, so it's got the colourful purple number 5 on the back. So this is a relatively recent style of currency. The previous style looked like this. This is a $5 note. It says Federal Reserve Note at the top, and it's got the green shield over the words 5. And at the bottom it just says $5. Now this one was printed in 1985, but it stayed the same right up until the late 1990s. And here's one that looks exactly the same, and this one was printed in 1969. So those are Federal Reserve notes. They're printed by the Federal Reserve, and it says at the bottom, $5. But it wasn't always like this. Here's another Federal Reserve note. It says at the top, Federal Reserve Note, but it says at the bottom, will pay to the bearer on demand $5. So what does that mean, I hear you cry? Don't I already have $5 by holding it here? But it says on the note, will pay to the bearer on demand $5. So the $5 that you can demand to be paid isn't this piece of paper. In the words of Ray Dalio,
in 1971, when I was a young clerk on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, the United States ran out of money and defaulted on its debts. That's right, the U.S. ran out of money. How? Well, back then, gold was the money used in transactions between countries. Paper money, like the dollar, was like checks in a checkbook in that it had no value other than it could be exchanged for gold, which was the real money.
So in principle, the United States dollar could be exchanged for gold. But from 1944 to 1971, only foreign governments were entitled to exchange their US dollars for gold. And after 1971, the US dollar can't be exchanged for any kind of precious metal. And that's how things have been since 1971. Now here's something completely different. This is a United States note. It says at the top, United States note. It still says at the bottom, will pay to the bearer on demand. So the United States note is issued by the federal government and not by the Federal Reserve. Currently, when the United States government needs to raise money, they print a Treasury bond and then they sell that Treasury bond at an auction where it might be bought by investors or it might be bought by the Federal Reserve. If it's bought by the Federal Reserve, then the Federal Reserve will create a bunch of Federal Reserve notes, give those Federal Reserve notes to the US government, and in return receive that US Treasury bond, which the Federal Reserve can then either hold themselves or maybe sell on at a later time. The US government receives those Federal Reserve notes and can spend them. The alternative is for the US government to print up some United States notes and simply spend them. No Treasury bond, no auction, no Federal Reserve. They can simply spend the money created by the United States government instead of the money created by the Federal Reserve. Now that hasn't happened since 1963. But after 1971, no one is entitled to exchange their United States dollars for a particular quantity of gold. But here's another kind of $5 note. This is a silver certificate. It says at the top, silver certificate. And then underneath in small letters, it says, this certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America $5 in silver, payable to the bearer on demand. So while a Federal Reserve note or a United States note could not be exchanged for gold unless you were a foreign government, if you had a silver certificate, then you could exchange it for silver dollars. I've got one right here. It's a shiny silver coin. Silver certificates are no longer issued, and in fact the United States Treasury ended up selling their stock of silver. But on the bottom, it still has the payable to the bearer on demand. So yes, it was a time when dollars were backed by a precious metal. Now, in the words of Ray Dalio,
breaking the link to gold allowed the U.S. to continue spending more than it earned, simply by printing more paper dollars. Since there was an increase in the number of dollars without an increase in the country's wealth, the value of each dollar fell. As these new dollars entered the market, without a corresponding increase in productivity, they went to buy lots of stocks, gold, and commodities, and hence caused their prices to rise.